The S&P 500, the Nasdaq 100. We're going to get right into it. Today's video is going to be pretty short and to the point. Now, I'm pretty happy about the movement. If we were to look at today, I didn't get a lot of trading, didn't get a lot of action for myself because I'm primarily looking for that upside and trading the overall trend right now. You can make money in the short term, trading the scalps back and forth. But for me, the money has been the upside breakouts, the buying off support, buying when, we have buyers showing back up based on volume because sellers haven't been pushing us down. So just really quickly, as we look here, you can see we're just continually moving up in this clear range. You had to bounce back on the 7th, and it's just been up ever since. And this was all mentioned on Twitter and in Discord, and then obviously here on the lives as well. Now, if we look really quickly here at the daily time frame, as you can see, these were those levels we were watching last February, last March. As you can see, you come back in like the 2 hour. We can see we push above. We come back down today, we get the retest, and that's where we're at right now. So overall, I'm liking where we're at. I'm liking this movement. And this is kind of, again, the setups that we're looking for. Opportunity. We want to see now coming into Tuesday, it's a 3-day weekend. We want to see, can buyers show back up? Can they step back up to the plate here? And if they can, in my opinion, you look good for that said continuation. ES as well, looks very, very good. Almost hit 4,500 to the tick, and now we're getting a little bit rejected. But again, as you can see, higher lows, higher highs being established. This is a bull trend. There's no BS about it. Now, before we go into anything else, I'd ask you to consider doing two things: liking and subscribing. As you can see, every single day I make videos for you, so you are prepared. Just if you can like the content, consider doing so. Also, too, the Discord link is down below. But again, we have lots of free information, lots of free tools here on the channel. So if you're brand new to trading, I do not recommend jumping into Discord or anyone's Discord for that fact, because I would focus on getting the basics down for yourself and understanding what's happening, so you don't just go into it with the mentality of let me follow someone to make money, because that's never going to work out. Find a mentor, find someone that's going to actually help you progress. If that's not with me, find it with someone else. I always recommend that. Obviously, too, the newsletter, the link is down below. Every Sunday this is released, so make sure you are subscribed. The biggest trades from this week that you could see here, and obviously was my favorite, you had, I believe it was your Tesla, but you also had Netflix. Netflix was the one that I liked. Targets all at 449, 458.97. If you go back into Netflix, you can see exactly where we got rejected at around 449 to the tick. That was the real beautiful play. We mentioned it here last week, and we mentioned it on Twitter as well. Tesla, another really nice one here. You pushed into the 252, almost 260 as well there. As you go back into Tesla, 260 right now, and you're finding that rejection. So that's where you kind of ended the week. And this was all set up here in the newsletter, so you could see in detail what to look for. This is free. The link is down below, so make sure you check it out. Now, when we go into the market and things I'm looking at, again, I'm not going to go too in detail on indexes, because we really got to see our buyers going to show back up. You know what I mean? I can like the setup all day long, but at the end of the day, it comes back down to volume, price action, supply and demand. And right now we're at that level of we should be getting a bounce pretty soon. Buyers should be showing back up, and that's what's worked for us. Now, plays I'm liking right now, Tesla, you probably have some more upside, but what I'm looking for specifically here is on Google. Now, Google, I'm looking at names that, in my opinion, are strong, but also haven't hit their 52-week highs yet, or their all-time highs, and still have more room to go. Now, what I will say here on Google before you start YOLOing in is you potentially do have a head and shoulders forming out here. I got to show you both sides of the trade. So there is the potential that this did form today on a head and shoulders check on the 4-hour, 2-hour time frame, as you can see there. Now, the neckline is not lined up perfectly, but I'd be getting confirmation if you break below like 220. This has been a really nice support too, down at 117, but I really want us to hold around 121, 122 in order to stay strong here on Google. But it's something I'm definitely watching in the next week. If this holds up, I think you can start pushing back into 132, 130. Amazon, next one up. Amazon's kind of just, grinding up. It's not like the top of my list anymore, just because you're like at this level. I'm like, dude, like, how are we not like breaking out yet? I'm kind of like at a loss for words. You have your 200 SMA on the weekly as well at around 132. So that's the target here. But again, I'm playing it by ear, watching closely. When you see a mount of 127, I think you should have got the push already. It's just taking a little bit more time than I thought, which isn't always a good sign. Next up, AMD. And again, I'm just running through names here. AMD, huge fan here. And I'm looking at more of a dated position. I'm not looking short term at all here on AMD. You can see we held this level over and over near 116 all the way like to 118. It's been a massive level. We caught the trade earlier this week as well. We mentioned it on YouTube and Twitter, I believe, and then obviously in Discord. But you can see you're still making those higher lows in the kind of end of the week here. I think you have a little bit more downside potentially to 117, 118, but I love the name. I love what AMD is doing. Like I said earlier too, I'm looking at names that have room to run, but also aren't at their all-time highs yet. For instance, AMD, you still have, $40, $50 up into all-time high 165. But look at some of the competitors. AVGO, you're at all-time highs, well above all-time highs. Previous all-time highs were around 680. Now you're sitting closer to 900. Nvidia, remember, had the really big earnings and you went crazy. Previous all-time highs, just so you know, we're right here, 346. Now you're at 426, over $80 of upside there. Names like AMD, I believe these are laggers. And just like AMD took a long time kind of to get to the point of the run that you had back in 2020, through 2021 into highs of 160, I still believe you're on track, and I still think you have a lot of upside here. I think AMD's a big name. What they're doing with Microsoft also has me excited. Okay, Netflix, another name I'm watching here. Again, this is probably one of the better opportunities if we are going to get a continued pullback on Netflix. Now, if you missed the trade from the newsletter or anything along those lines, the biggest thing we were waiting here is a mount above the 200 SMA on the weekly. You mounted above and you pushed up with ease. If you can continue to hold this and we get a little bit more of a retracement, maybe into 420, 418, I do believe there's continued upside hopes here, and I do think there's continued upside opportunity. So I definitely think you have to be watching Netflix because, again, I think this thing could easily start to run. Now, if we look at where we hit, we were around 449. Now, we go to the weekly and we can look exactly where this, actually, let's go to the daily so you can see it more clear. You go back here, you can see the top of this range around 455, and then you get into the gap of illiquidity up to 506. So I still think there's plenty of upside here. We have to understand that. But what we need to understand, too, is that this swing low right here, you can actually see, right? It's actually a beautiful level. So you can see swing high, low, low, and then where that gap, where you touch there. So 460 is going to be a pain in the ass, but you get above 460, easy continuation, in my opinion, to fill that gap as well. But even looking here, again, I'm going to be looking for support here. I want to see support start to stack back in 417, 420, anything along those lines. If we can see buyers step back into the Nasdaq, it's a sign, in my opinion, back into all these names, right? So again, I can love all these names on the list, but at the end of the day, it comes right back down to Nasdaq. And are you going to get support, right? Are buyers going to show up? I can, look at charts all day long, but if I don't have a plan and I'm not able to, navigate when to get in, when to get out based on the indexes, at the end of the day, I'll probably be a loser when it comes to trading, and I'll probably not put myself in the best positions to win. Now, also showing you what's happening here on Bookmap as well on the day. And today, we knew, honestly, in Discord, after about 30 minutes in there, we were like, dude, it's going to be a terrible trading day. Now you can see back and forth. So I want you to identify, ignore this green line. This is CVD. And you can see all day long it's just back and forth, which represents buying and selling, or who's in primary control based on quantity of orders, not size of orders. Now, if you look here, you can see this red line right here represents your stops, and the blue line is your icebergs. Now, icebergs typically give us a good visual of direction on the market because it shows you big buyers are stepping in, and they don't want to do it just at market or on the book. They want to slowly get into those positions so they don't maybe spook the market or give away, that they're putting in size. Now, all done icebergs, you saw very minimal orders, right? You saw smaller sized orders, 500 lots here and there, nothing crazy or out of the ordinary, okay? No big orders that were established. But on the red line, these are stop outs. And what you're seeing with stops is more liquidations or people that are getting pushed out of positions based on, wicking back and forth. And today was definitely out of the ordinary. You can see tons of stops getting triggered on both sides, to the down and to the upside. So again, I think some traders are getting hyper aggressive. And I think this, again, I can only say it so many times. I think today was one of those days where, and especially near the end of the day, where you have opportunities to get in. But you need to understand that you don't need to be attacking the market, pushing over leveraging yourself and pushing maybe beyond your means of where your account is. I recommend, hitting the pause, taking a little bit of a break, and letting the action develop for itself. Because where you really got some of these entry opportunities was near the end of the day. Like for myself, I like the upside that you kind of had here. You kind of had like a little bit of a flag going into around noon. You broke out and then kind of came back down. That just signaled how terrible today was, really. And, the only thing you really had here was your VWAP here on the 15-minute. You broke above and got right back below. I told people in Discord, I like it as long as you hold above VWAP. You got back below, that's it. There's no trade after that. It's just chop back and forth. And so that's what you're seeing there. But again, as you can see, though, you're getting all of that opportunity to get into these positions and finding support near the end of the day into another long weekend. So what I will say is, again, have a plan, and maybe if you don't want to enter over the weekend or have to ride that out, but at least you have a plan going into Tuesday, Monday morning, whatever day it may have been. So understand that as well, is you're getting those opportunities, but there's no reason to be shoving all in or really risking too much during this time as well. Now, going over VIX, I find it really interesting. You're dipping on the day, and VIX is still sitting at lows. Tells me again, I think risk on is still the approach. I still think that's the method that the market's taking here. We look at IWM. You are grinding above the 200 SMA on the weekly. Why was this important? You go to the daily. Look, you've been rejected so many times. Now you're consolidating here. I think you look really good here still on IWM. Going into Dow, what's happening here specifically? YM, Dow, so you can see. You're still basically trending above previous levels. And honestly, it looks really impressive. If you really look at where you're at and how you're holding here, you can see you're still holding above most of those swing levels there. So I still like where you're at. Obviously not the best daily close, but again, you're still above a lot of major resistances where we've been rejected over time. Same thing with ES. You're well above all these levels. You're clearly broken out, okay? First red day in, I believe, 6-7 days. Still like what we're seeing. I still like the action. All things considered, you're about $3 off of highs, $3-4 roughly. You still look good, okay? You have to be able to acknowledge where we're at and how we're, just look at where you're operating in a great area as we speak. So again, that's what I'm looking at here on the market. Going into VIX and DXY, went over VIX already, but DXY you're still pushing down. Descending triangle, in my opinion, wants to push down even further. We look a little bit at yields, a 2-year. We saw some more upside here today. Now, this is the interesting behavior because today's movement, especially for the downside, was all started once Waller, one of the Fed members, came out and spoke and said they were really concerned about core inflation and the way that it's moving. It's not moving as fast to the downside as they would want to see, and it's really kind of just not doing much, which we discussed after the Fed meeting. So what I will say is you're getting some volatility to the downside when some of these Fed members speak, but right now I'm telling you right now, the market is still moving based on the pause. Okay. Now, obviously, I think once we get closer to the next Fed meeting, we'll have a little bit more worrisome behavior, right? We might get a little bit more chop around that time. But I do believe into the next Fed meeting, we will continue to see bullish behavior. Now, around PCE and more inflation data, I'd pump the brakes a little bit, but I still expect more upside going throughout all this. So, my personal opinion, how I think we're going to move. I don't think yields are going to continue to rise either, but that's how I'm viewing the market. That's how I'm trading. And that's what I'm looking at over the course of this weekend. If you have questions, comment down below. I'll have an educational video most likely or a little bit of fundamental video on Sunday. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Have a good one, traders.